that's the idea of being famous. Our goal in life is to bring Hashem's name to be famous. There's two parts in the meaning being Jewish. There's two parts. It's all, the essence is in one letter or in one short sentence in the Torah. It says, "Vaytem li mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh." The Tam Yisrael should be a kingdom of kohanim and a holy nation. So there's two parts of our mission life. One is to be ourselves, to work on ourselves to be more holy. Also in all the levels, holiness, to be more connected, to work on our if we have some behavior, wrong behavior, and so to fix it. Mm-hmm. That's from one side. The other side is Mamlechet Kohanim, is to be an example for all the nations and to work as a mission in the name of Hashem to spread the meaning of Judaism, meaning of Torah to our fellow Jewish people, to teach people. So that's interesting. We see that there's the Chasam Sofer writes that V'afta l'racha kamocha. The Gemara brings a story about two people who are walking in the desert, and these people are walking in the desert, and they have there's a small amount of water, and this amount of water could save the life death of one person. So what should you do? You have two people. So
spill it on the ground.
Yeah, but one could be saved. His life could be saved.
One should die.
One should die. So who's the one who's going to die? The one who owns the water, or his fellow friend who's walking with him?
However they decide.
So the Gemara writes, "Chayecha kodmim." Your life is before the life of your fellow man. You need to save your life first.
Isn't that's not a very good friend that does that though?
Yeah, but you have two. There's no other choice. You have one choice. You both be dead. One choice. One is be alive. So your life is before. But what happens in Ruchaniyut, in spiritualism, in teaching Torah, let's say? Also here, someone who learns Torah, if he learns for himself, so he's going to be more higher level in learning. But if he teaches other people, so he's losing the time. He could be develop himself in learning Torah for himself. So the Chasam Sofer writes that V'afta l'racha kamocha ani Hashem tefre. The Torah says you should love your friend as yourself. Mm-hmm. So how could you love your friends as yourself if you say Chayecha Kodmim, for life is before? It means you need to love yourself more. So he says that comes to sound spiritual learning or doing mitzvahs, you should prefer the time of your friend than your own time. So when you learn Torah, you teach other people Torah, even so it's on your own time, that gives you being a Mekayim mitzvah after l'racha kamocha. That's the way a person could grow in Torah.
Right.
So we're going to start learning today and tomorrow. We'll learn the halachas of Chanukah, and we'll start learning the Mishnah Berurah writes on Chafei Kislev. We begin the 8 days of Chanukah, and these 8 days of Chanukah, you shouldn't do. You're not allowed to fast, and you're not allowed to do hespedim. If a person is nifta, you can't speak in front of public and be sad. But you're allowed to do any work, and women don't do a work while the candles are lighting. But there's some of the poskim say that women could. Women shouldn't work while the candles are
while the candles are lit.
Or lit. They shouldn't do jobs at home, wash dishes or wash the floor and so. There is a bit mitzvah to do more saudot, more bigger dinner and more food than usual. Even so, Chazal didn't decide these days it's going to be like Eder Yom Tovim. There's a mitzvah to have a suda on Shabbos and Shavuos and Sukkot and Chanukah and Pesach, and so there's a mitzvah to do a suda, 3 sudas on Shabbos and on Yom Tov 2 Sudas, but on Chanukah there's no mitzvah to do a Seudah. But there's a bit mitzvah to eat some more, because it was the days when they had Chanukah HaMizbech, was the days when the Bet HaMikdash, the Mishkan, was renewal.
How about eating latkes? Is that a
Eat
mitzvah?
latkes.
To have lots of latkes.
That's a minhag.
A minhag.
A minhag. But minhag, and we usually the noyek to be singing to Hashem in these surahs, and some people eat also cheese on Chanukah, because there was a miracle with milk when Yehudit, there's this story of this woman Yehudit who gave milk for the enemy, and then when he fell asleep, she killed him. Yeah. It says here a person should be very careful in lighting the nails of Chanukah, even if a person is poor and he owns his money from tzedakah, people give him money, he should sell or give over his clothes, should give over his clothes he has, and take oil for lighting up the nails of Chanukah.
Are we allowed to ask questions anytime?
Yeah, anytime.
So what about money on Hanukkah? Some people
Yeah.
gamble on Hanukkah. Is that okay?
Yeah, there's a gamble on money.
I mean they play dreidel.
They play dreidel with
They're
money.
not gambling. They just play dreidel.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's okay. There is a minhag to give money for Hanukkah. They call it Dmei Chanukah.
Okay. That was the other question. Okay.
And they give Dmei Chanukah. The idea of giving Dmei Chanukah is also part of being. The idea is joining. They should be happy more. Also the kids. So
Yes.
that's the way they put the kids in. One of the minhagim of doing the dreidel is because when they were hiding, when the Yevonim was also to people to learn Torah,
Yes.
so they used to sit in the caves and hide, and that the children should play games what are not noisy. They used to play with dreidels when they were running around, and so they were hiding in these places learning Torah.
Right.
And also because the dreidel has on it letters.
Right.
Nes Gadol היה פה. Nun, Gimel, Hey, Pei.
Hey.
And in America, so it's instead of Pei, it says Shin. Why Shin?
Why?
Because Nes Gadol היה פה, the miracle was here in Israel. But when you're playing in America, Nes Gadol היה שם, the miracle is here. So when you say in the Hebrew, Po is here,
Yes.
and Sham is there. So when you play in America, so you say the miracle happened there, didn't happen here.
What about, there's also minhag that some people they double the money every day of Hanukkah. You heard this minhag? I heard someone says that first day you get 1, second day 2, and then 4, 16, exponential. It's not.
The only thing is by halacha what you need to double is double the neiros. On the first day you light one,
Yes.
and every day you put another one. Maybe it's the idea is to make it more interesting for the kid, for the children.
They learn how to count.
They should be learn how to learn how. Yeah, also maybe.
All right.
So in the halacha, it says it's more the halacha is talking about where you should light the candles, in which place, and how many candles you should light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and which time you should light the candles. It's also important to know when and which kind of oil. And which kind of what's the best oil to use for lighting the candles of Hanukkah, and what they do while you light. If you like to enjoy the light of if you like to use the lights of Hanukkah, and if you like to light a light from a light. When you light the Hanukkah, you want to light another Hanukkah. If you allow to, so you're not allowed. It says lishtamesh bam bilvad. And which bracha they do when you lighten the Hanukkah lights. On the first day you say Shechianu. On the other days you don't say Shechim, but you say Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, שקדשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של חנוכה. And then you say also שעשה ניסים לאבותינו. Yeah. And what's the halacha of people who in yeshiva? So if they could go out by someone who lights them for everyone, or everyone needs his own Hanukkah.
Yeah.
And if you should put the Hanukkah in the entrance of your room or outside on the street. And what happens on Shabbos? On Shabbos, what they light before? They light the Hanukkah candle or the Shabbos candle? And what happens with a person that has many days for the candle of Chanukah, or for candle of Shabbos, what should he choose? So, what do you do in Havdalah? So all these dinim, Alanissim also what they say. So all these dinim, these are the main basic halachas of Chanukah. The ideas of the dreidel and the latkas is more like culture minhag. It's not something what's the main halacha. So we need to know what's the ikar and what's the tafel. What's the ikar? The ikar is the putting up the light, the light of Chanukah. And also it's very important, a person should know what to be mechaven, what's the idea of the Chanukah, what's the idea, and through the light of Chanukah you could get a lot of spiritual energy and spiritual ideas of how to take the light of Chanukah in the whole over the year. Because Chanukah is a special time. It's a special time when a person could feel, really, feel in his heart, feel a special light, a spiritual light. It's not a physical light; it's a spiritual light of the idea of lehodot u'le'aleh. Lehodot u'le'aleh is to thank Hakadosh Baruch Hu and to praise Him. That's the day of Chanukah. When a person sings in front of the nerves of Chanukah, all kind of songs, and davens to Hashem and speaks to Hashem and says, say to Hashem, I want this light, it should lighten up my heart, warm it up for the work of Hashem for the whole year. So you could take this light for the whole year. Because when you say, okay, when is this holiday finishing, it doesn't finish. It just starts. We take the light of this holiday, of this Chanukah, of this the celebration of Chanukah, and we take it to the whole year. Because really, the main work in what we need to do in our avodas Hashem is to be more connected to Hashem, and to know that we should do everything we do. We should try to, as much as we could in our power, to see how we could do everything, what's Hashem's will, and how we could bring us closer to Hashem. Everything we do. So, how could the person take all his doing and everything he does, and take it from where he does it today and bring it forward for avodas Hashem? The way, also the Mesilas Yesharim, also the Ochos Tzedek, the Chovas Alvavos, they say that the way a person could come to Avas Hashem, what's the highest level, almost close to Nevuah. There's a lot of levels of Avas Hashem, of loving Hashem. In a way, a person should always think about Hashem, always put the mind how he could worship Hashem, how he could be connected to Hashem more. How could the person come to this level of developing in himself connection with Hashem? So the Ochos Tzedikim writes in Sha'ar Avas Hashem, that's yesterday I learned it. He says that the way a person could develop in himself Avas Hashem is by his boinanus. His boinanus is looking into things. A person that could imagine which kind of miracles HaKadosh Baruch Hu does with him every day. Let's say, if you take, example, the heart of a person, every day, 40,000 cups of blood. He moves it from a place, and it works.
Wow.
For all the years, Baruch Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And how does it work? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives it life. The lungs of a person, they say the lungs of a person has inside special cells, but if you spread them, you could come to about 60 meters of cells, what bring out the oxygen, take out the wrong oxygen. They call it dutachmoset apachman in Hebrew.
Poison.
So that's just two small example of miracles HaKadosh Baruch Hu does with us. There's more. But also every person just needs to look every day, every morning, and every night before he goes to sleep to say, okay, let's see which kind of goodness HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to me in this last 24 hours. Okay, so when yesterday night, what happened? So yesterday night someone told me he was lying in his bed.
Yeah.
And then easily he stopped, he couldn't feel his hands anymore. And then he couldn't feel his legs. And then easily he felt also all his body is all numb. And he stopped, he couldn't see anything. And he also stopped hearing. He became, as you say, meshutak. Meshutak is, how do you say in English? paralyzed.
Paralyzed, yes.
Yeah.
Sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Paralyzed, yeah.
And then what happened?
And
After
then
a few
his-
hours,
And then his spirit left his body?
yeah, also. And then what happened? On the morning, a miracle happened. He woke up
Came
and he
back.
started to see,
Wow.
and he felt fresh. That's a miracle that happens to everyone and every one of us. It's not a story about someone, it's a story about everyone. So that's a small idea of someone who could say, okay, Akash Baruch Hu, I need to be thankful for Akash Baruch Hu.
Yeah.
And then when I woke up, I walked, I went. And then I came in the shul. Baruch Hashem, I've got the shul. And he opened the siddur. And he has tzitzis. And he has tefillin. He's a millionaire. So he needs to be needs to be happy, needs to be thankful for Akash Baruch Hu. So if a person appreciates the goodness Akash Baruch Hu does with him, that's the way he could come and love Akash Baruch Hu. Because really, the secret of love in the Western world, they say love is the essence of connection, of chemistry. Torah says no. The Torah says love is a tree of lemons. What's a tree of lemons? A person who goes to the market and buys 9 or 10 lemons and he eats it. It's okay. It's tasty. He uses it for his salads. It's okay. It's good lemons. But if he grows outside in his garden, he's growing a tree. He planted the tree, small. He put in seeds, and covered it with soil, and then put water, and tried and put stones around, and kept it, and put out a small. He put up a wood to keep the young tree to be stable. And then after a year and 2 years, every time he took care that there should no animals, no kind of creatures trying to destroy this fresh lemon tree growing up. And after a few years, this lemon tree grew, and he saw a small flower coming out, and this flower was growing, and every time he put around it something to cover it. And then he takes this lemon. Which lemon is more tasty for him? The market lemon, even so it's a big yellow good lemon, or the lemon what he growed up in his own tree. So the Gemara says, "Rotzeh Adam bekaf shelo yoter mi-10 kabin shel." A person enjoys more his own something what belongs to him than someone else. So the idea of love is to put in effort in something. Someone who puts effort in something, he works on it, and he works and he puts in those energy. So he loves it more than something else. So the secret of love is the power of giving. A person who gives to someone else, so he loves him. So here by Akash Baruch Hu, when a person gives to Akash Baruch Hu from his own time, from his own energy, from his own thoughts, he says, I'm gonna reduce my own will and give it to Akash Baruch Hu's will, and that's the way he develops love to Akash Baruch Hu. And why should he do it? Because he could look, he sees how Akash Baruch Hu gives him so much love and so much goodness. So a person has inside of him a sense of hakarat tov. He wants to give back also good. The Rav Dessler told a story about his son. Rabbi Dessler, who wrote Michtav Meliyahu, so he told the story that he was, before the Holocaust, in some way he was in England, and then he was saved. And in the Second World War he was in England for all this period of time. And after the war when the war ended, so he got information that his son is alive. So he said he's gonna meet him. He said, and when he was imagining that they connected, they were speaking through letters, and he said, I'm coming now to England, and I'll meet you at the train station. So Rav Dessler describes what happened on the way. He says, when I was driving from Gateshead towards London, so I was imagining I saw in my mind, I pictured my son as I knew him 5 years ago, and my love, how I loved him so much, and I'm gonna see him, and I'm gonna go and give him a big hug and say I missed you and love him so much. He said, what happened? Something very strange. He says, when his son came down the train, he didn't feel love to him. He felt a love from a father to his son, but not as he imagined it's gonna be. And the mother, his wife, was with the son. They were connected more. That better connection. Even so, before the war, the father and the son had better connection. So it said he understood it in that point that the develop of love was through giving. 5 years he didn't give him anything, so he didn't feel the love he felt before the war. So it says that's the idea of giving. So a person who every time takes for himself and doesn't know how to give, so it's a person that can't develop the loveness to other people. V'afta l'reacha kamocha, it doesn't say you should love another person by meaning you should, when you give to someone else, that's the way you develop your love. So here in Chanukah we learn that the idea of being connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of being going through every difficulties every person could have any time, is through La'odot Ulal. When a person is thankful for HaKadosh Baruch Hu and works on it and develops it, so that's the way he could be more connected to Hashem. That's what we learn on Chanukah. Because really in Emunah, in developing our Emunah in connection with Hashem, there's a lot of levels. We all believe that Hashem created the world. We know He gave the Torah in 3,777 years ago, 6 years ago. He took us out from Egypt. We know He gave His Torah. We know it. We know also HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the world. But do we believe in our mind, in 100%, that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us in our goodness, that He wants us everything should be good for us, and even so something what doesn't look so good for us, are we sure, are we positive sure that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu just wants it for our good? So that's our work to join this idea, to take this idea that everything what the HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants is for our goodness through Chanukah. That's the way a person could stand in front of the idea of mityavnim, in front of the idea of this world of the Yavanut, and stay stable and connected to Hashem, even so everything would happen. So we're gonna learn another few halachas. So he says a person should light every night. He lights on the first night, he lights one candle, and then the night he lights every night he lights another one, until the last night there's gonna be 8. And even so there's a lot of people in this house, so this one should light a Chanukah, but the Ramah says that everyone should light his own candle. And that's the minhag to do today. Everyone lights his own Chanukah lights. Yeah. So there's a question people ask. There's a known question what the Beis Yosef asks, the Shulchan Aruch asks on Chanukah. He says Chanukah was the miracle of Chanukah was that they had an amount of oil what was enough for one day, and the amount there was a miracle. What was the miracle? What happened? The amount of oil, of the olive oil, what was enough for one day, in the end, he stayed for another 7 days. Mm-hmm. So the Beis Yosef asks a question. He says, if the lamp was enough for one day, mm-hmm. so the miracle was this for 7 days. Mm-hmm. So why do you light 8 days? You should light this for 7 days. I've got a booklet with 500 answers on this question.
Say again, what was the question?
The question is the olive oil was enough for one night. What was the miracle? That
7 nights.
It was enough for another 7 nights. So why do you light 8 candles instead of 7? Because the miracle was for 7. You had the amount for one night. It wasn't there was no olive oil, and then he developed 8 days. Mm-hmm. It was amount for one day. So the miracle is for another 7 days. Mm-hmm. So why do they light for 8 days?
Why do you light for 8 days? Because
it lasted for 8 days.
Sorry? He lasted for another 7 days. In front it should be just for one day. So there's about 500. There's a lot of answers. I've got a booklet with 500 answers on this question.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one question.
Maybe they didn't measure correctly.
Did they measure the amount?
Who measured it?
No, the Kohanim, he says.
Oh, the coin.
It was a special amount.
Ah,
They found.
They divided it into 8 parts.
Yeah,
right?
that's one answer. Very nice.
ah.
That's one answer. Divided into 8 parts,
So
and
they
then
measured it into 8 parts.
yeah. So that's one
So
answer.
that was so instead of
So the first day was a
So
miracle.
the first day was also a miracle.
so if it was measured by 8 parts, that means the first day it lasted was a miracle, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one of the answers. There's a lot of answers, but one of the answers they say that the whole idea of Chanukah is to teach us that there's no difference between 1 day or 8 days.
Uh-huh.
It's all a miracle.
Alright.
A lamp should light, and also more than that, we know that there was a bigger miracle in Chanukah, in Beis Hamikdash for that there was this light. Ner Maravi was never turned off. It was every time lighting. So this miracle was every time existed in Beis Hamikdash. What's special in this nest?
So some people have the custom of lighting 8 days and going to 1 day. Is that correct?
Sorry,
Starting from the large amount of light.
That's Shemai.
Oh,
that's Beis Shammai. That was the idea of Beis Shammai. But La'alocha, they go by Beis Hillel. But one of the questions people ask is the other question. Something very very strange when you check out these 2 holidays of Hanukkah and Purim. It's both holidays but established on miracles that happened after the time of Nevuah, after the time of prophets. So Chazal decided to be Hanukkah Purim. It's out from it's not from the Tanakh. Yeah, Hanukkah, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, or days what HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided they're going to be. Purim, Hanukkah, what days what Chazal decided it's going to be a holiday of celebrating the miracles that happened in Hanukkah and Purim. But something very strange what happened on Hanukkah and Purim. On Hanukkah, the Greeks came and said, we're going to destroy the spiritual of Israel. We won't kill you, but we will avoid any attempt of keeping Shabbos, of doing bris milah, of keeping mitzvahs of Shabbos, bris milah, of tefillin. We won't allow people to keep mitzvahs. That was the Evanim. That was Chanukah. On Purim, Haman HaRasha decided he's going to destroy Am Yisrael physically. And what happens? So logically, you would say, if someone is threatened to kill you, what do? You take a sword, you go and fight him. So what needed to happen on Chanukah, on Purim? That when Haman HaRasha decided he's going to destroy Am Yisrael, Mordechai Tzaddik needed to do what Yehuda Maccabi did. To call Am Yisrael Mil Hashem Elai, take a sword and fight Amalek, to fight Haman and kill him. Like then in Chazal say Shaul HaMelech, he went to fight Agag Melech Amalek. Yoshua bin Nun and Moshe Rabbeinu, they fight Amalek with a sword. What happened here? And what happens on Chanukah? The opposite. The Yavonim come and say, we won't allow you to learn Torah, and we won't allow you to keep mitzvahs. You should do what Mordechai Tzaddik do. To start a fast. We collect everybody for 3 days, won't eat, won't fast. Without Hashem, let us keep the mitzvahs. So that's really something strange. It needed to be opposite, yeah? When someone can threaten you physically, your life, you kill him. That's Amalek. And when you have Yavonim coming and threatening you from keeping mitzvahs, you should make it so, make it tainis, make davening and pray to Hashem to save you from this gzeira. He's not threatening your life. This is something what needs to be understand. You need to understand what's the difference. Why here Chazal? Because as I said yesterday, the timeline of Am Yisrael, the timeline of our circle of year is a timeline what's not historical events. It's a timeline where every year it's happening again and again. This light, this special power what these days have, or every time again and again. Also Chazal say, Zohar says, that these 8 days of Hanukkah, those were the days when Moshe Rabbeinu got from HaKadosh Baruch Hu the Torah Shebe'al Peh. So there's a special light in these days. We need to understand what's the meaning. Why here Yehuda Maccabi went and fighted with the sword, with Mil Hashem Elai, and here by Amalek, by Haman HaRasha. So you see Mordechai didn't do any war. That's after that, when they were saved. So Esther Malka asked for Chashverosh, please give me permission to kill all our enemies. But that was after it happened. It wasn't as a way to be saved.
Yeah.
That's one question. Another question is, Chazal say that Latid Lavo, when Moshiach is going to come, all the holidays will be cancelled, won't be celebrated anymore, except of Chanukah and Purim. What's special Chanukah and Purim? Why, you had miracles? You had the miracle of 8 candles. You have a miracle of saving a big nation by a big army was conquered by a small group of people. We had bigger miracles in Pesach and in Shavuos and Sukkot. Miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim, Aseres Hamakos, all these Matan Torah. Am Yisrael had huge miracles of the revelation of Hashem. So we had bigger miracles. How come Lo Sidla, we say these small 2 holidays are stronger or in a higher level or will be still established, will be the same as before Mashiach will come, and not like that? These are the holidays. That's another question you should ask yourself. These are 2 questions. Another question the person should ask himself: how come also on Chanukah and Purim it's very strange holidays? Because usually on Pesach and on Shavuos and on Sukkot, part of the holiday is also being disconnected from the plain daily routine of work, of handling things. Yeah, people stop. You stop the bus. You say, "Stop! I'm now going down the bus. Now I've got a holiday. We need to sit. We're gonna learn. We're gonna daven. We have the special davening. We don't work." But on Chanukah and Purim, it's like a plain day. That's on the evening. You need to go and light candles. So you leave. You work and you go and light candles, and then you sit in front of the candles. But on the morning, on the afternoon, you go to college, you learn, you work, and it's the same thing. How come? Why are these holidays separated from the other holidays? These are 3 questions. There's more questions to ask, but the main idea comes and teaches us what Chazal want to say. Why Chazal established these holidays to teach us here the way how we need to deal in our world, deal life and be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through these ideas. First thing, the idea is what's the difference between Chanukah and Purim? Why on Chanukah we had Yehuda Maccabi went and fight with the sword, the Gzera of Antiochus, the Gzera of the Yevanim, and in Purim it was the opposite, because Chanukah and Purim are different in the idea that in our world we look at things in some way. In this world we look at things as natural. Everything is like natural. When you throw a stone, it flies. When you do something, so it works in that way. HaKadosh Baruch Hu teaches us here through Chazal that when our logic is not like the Torah logic. It doesn't work in the same way. Why? Because we need to know when a person is threatened by a threat on his life, so that's in the hands of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why it's in the hands of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Because what does he say? The main idea of our free will is that Hakol b'dei Shamayim chutz mirat Shamayim. Everything in the hands of Hashem except one thing, our Yirat Shamayim. Our connection with Hashem, our free will is in that field only. But at the fields of how much money will you earn, if you live, not live, everything what a person should have in his own in the whole of his life, that's not in our free choice. That's it. So here, when Haman came and threatened the life of a person, that's in the hands of Hashem. In the hands of Hashem, it's your work. You need to do the job, as he say. You need to help us with Haman. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then this so amazing idea of his Vashti and Esther Amalko, and exactly Haman didn't fall asleep and big stuff. The whole story of Megillas Esther is all the way how HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through the nature, keeps on Am Yisrael is a miracle. But that's on physical threat. When Am Yisrael is a physical threat, then it works in this way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu manages the whole thing. So then the way how to conquer, how to go against this threat is through spiritual work, by tzom, by tainis, by cheshbon nefesh. But on Chanukah, when the threat is on keeping mitzvahs, is on learning Torah, is on bris milah, on keeping Shabbos, so then you go and fight with your hands. Why? Because there's the free choice is on this. You have a free choice if you keep Shabbat, not keep Shabbat. So you need to fight the enemy, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps you. So how do you start? When you start here, so when the threat is a physical threat, so you start with Cheshbon Nefesh, and then you continue with the sword. And here, when it's the opposite, when the threat is the spiritual threat, so you start with the sword, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps you. As he say, ואחרי זה תיארו את בית מקדשך, ותיארו את מקדשך, and what do they say על הניסים? That's the main idea, and that explains why when לעתיד לבוא, it doesn't mean there won't be any more Pesach and Puri and Pesach and Shavuos and Sukkot. Pesach and Shavuos and Sukkot is the idea of that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is managing the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So it won't be a big miracle that Asher Shamakos. What will be the miracle? When we Chanukah and Purim is the idea how HaKadosh Baruch Hu also the plain nature through that he works his way.
Yes.
So that's going to be after when Moshiach's going to come. We see in our eyes how also the whole nature is works with this frame of framework. How HaKadosh Baruch Hu works this thing. This is the idea of Chanukah and Purim. Yeah. Thank
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're welcome.
Sure.